And hello there, welcome to the Red October Network. Glad to see everybody's back and going really well here. Anyways, as you know, we're talking about Isaac, Hurricane Isaac, and it's been in the news recently. And everybody's worried about, you know, is it going to affect the United States? Where is it going to make landfall? But I'd like to take a little bit of a different view. As some of you may know, 20 years ago today, August 24th, 1992, we had one of the most destructive hurricanes to ever hit the United States in Hurricane Andrew. And so a lot of people in South Florida, and especially Louisiana, learned, or especially in South Florida, learned the destructive power of a hurricane. And even though that's been 20 years ago, I think there were a lot of things that were learned in Hurricane Andrew, and things that I wanted to talk about a little bit. So one of the things I think that we learned in Hurricane Andrew, one of the biggest things was the zoning laws. As you may know, there was very extensive damage in Homestead, Florida and South Florida. Houses completely leveled, mobile homes completely leveled. And $25 billion in damage. At the time, it was the most expensive natural disaster in American history. And one of the things that occurred in Andrew was that for years and years and years, there had been a lull in hurricane activity in the United States. I think there was like one landfall in like 30 years. And so what happened was the zoning laws that were in Florida were basically not followed. And the zoning laws in Florida, or the building laws rather, are very, very intricate, very descriptive. But because nobody had ever been able to test them, save for the occasional tropical storm or a tornado, people were just building and not really caring. And to add to that, there was a lot of growth and a lot of retirees and the such moving down there, in addition to the people moving south or moving north. And so there was a large Hispanic population. A lot of them lived in substandard housing. And so there was just this immediate, like, people were just surprised by what was then a Category 4 hurricane, later upgraded to a 5. And I think that was a very poignant maneuver that was just really, really, how could you say it, really strange, you know, because everybody learned that you had to follow the building codes. Now, another thing that we learned in Andrew was that the insurance industry was very severely underfunded. In hurricane areas, usually you have some sort of protection, per se, from natural disasters. It's common sense. And what happened was everybody took out all their insurance policies, and insurance policies are making money all this time. Well, here, when you have billions of dollars in damage, you tend to realize, when everybody starts putting in their claims, that they're going to default, they're going to go bottoms up on you. And so as a result, a lot of insurance agencies were just completely overwhelmed, and as a result it was very, very, very destructive to the insurance industry. And as a result, many insurance agencies no longer participate in Florida or hurricane-prone areas. And this was especially notable when Katrina hit, because a lot of people weren't insured. And so more on Katrina in a little bit. I think also, too, that in a way, Andrew was a big wake-up call for us, because we cannot underestimate storms. We cannot think, oh, it's somewhere else. And that was just a big thing. Now I know with Katrina, a lot of the damage that occurred probably was made a little bit worse because of Andrew. And here's why. When Andrew entered the Gulf, a lot of people were very scared that it would make a beeline towards New Orleans. And what happened was Andrew ended up moving to the west of New Orleans. Like, New Orleans was here, it moved like here, and it was basically, moved basically east of New Orleans. So it was over here. Sorry, I have my ways backwards. But anyways, so typically your strongest winds are on the west side of the storm. So if the storm's over here, it has the wind minus the forward motion, so it wasn't as strong of a hurricane. So everybody kind of breathed this sigh of relief. They were like, "Ah, oh, we don't have to worry about hurricanes." Then Katrina hit, and people just thought, "Oh yeah, it's going to be another Andrew." And as a result, it created a great tragedy in New Orleans, where people did not estimate, and the government did not estimate how much of an evacuation would be necessary. They did not estimate basically what would happen, and it added to the horror of Katrina. I also think Andrew really was one of the first really well publicized hurricane landfalls. I mean, there was Hugo and in '89, and there was Gilbert, obviously, in '88. But basically, I don't really think that there was really a huge storm. And it obviously brought to the Weather Channel, everybody realized John Hope and the bunker with Brian Norcross, who was a meteorologist down in Florida. So, in reality, Andrew was a big storm, and I'm actually going to go and take a little break here. When I come back, we'll be talking a little bit about the social aspects of it. So, anyways, hold tight just for a second. We're going to take a short commercial break. And welcome back. So what were the social aspects of Hurricane Andrew? Well, one of the things that I think was an important thing to note is that there was just a tremendous outpouring of just people looking for disaster aid and people looking for ways to get food, and this really brought to the forefront the fact that everybody should have a disaster preparedness kit. Now I'm going to try to do a video a little bit later about a disaster preparedness kit with Isaac approaching, and really this is something that everybody should have, because even today people simply do not go and do this kind of stuff. They simply expect the government to go out and come to the rescue and the National Guard to come in and essentially go and give them food and water. And I think that's something we haven't learned, that you have to be prepared. And obviously people panic all the time, and you see the people run into plywood and everything. And so I also think too, the other thing we still haven't learned is that when an evacuation order comes in, it's pretty advisable that they're acting in the best interest and you should leave. Now, you realize that Andrew's biggest damage was away from the shoreline, and it was away from the large cities. And I always fear that if Washington D.C. or something like that goes under, it'll it'll be just a tremendous situation. And I think with, what was it, Irene last year, that people kind of left and they said, oh my god, you know, New York's in the crosshairs, but this shouldn't have surprised anybody. And I remember, you might see here on the Red October Network, the hurricanes living on the edge about New Orleans. It's just an eerie similarity, and one of the places they identified as a problem would be New York City. And I think, at least in New York and Washington, they're disaster prepared because of 9/11. But I also think, too, that because New York has been so lucky not to have a hurricane, you know, people will kind of, you know, say, oh, well, you know, I don't have to worry and whatnot. But it's just sad. So I think that's something we didn't learn. And the good thing is with it is that we're starting to get into more of a lull with hurricane activity. So 2004 and 2005 were very busy. But, you know, there's still a lot of things we haven't learned in 20 years. So anyways, that's my reflection on Andrew, 20-year anniversary. I'm going to try to get a microphone so I can do some Isaac forecasting later today. It's 1:51 in the morning, so alright, so leave your comments, watch the commercials. Thank you for watching the Red October Network. See ya.